The Me Too movement has become big enough to encompass everything, and diffuse enough to risk becoming nothing at all. As it descends the ladder from rape to bad dates, it's becoming a category big enough to be meaningless. 4 months ago, we learned the shocking news about Harvey Weinstein. Soon after, we heard about more monsters in everyday places. The Me Too hashtag took off and a movement was formed. More women came forward, more powerful men were fired. But just as quickly, some men were unfairly caught in the crossfire. Matt Damon said that groping someone's butt was different from sexually molesting a child. The mob said he was callous, misinformed, and part of the problem. An anonymous woman described a disappointing date with Aziz Ansari, and suddenly, bad hookups were added to the list. Some women said the problem was the male power structure itself, and soon smashing the patriarchy was added to the long list of goals. It seemed that almost every woman had some kind of experience or goal that she wanted to add to the agenda. No problem was too small or too vague to be included, so long as a man was to blame. The women's movement in America began at the Seneca Falls Convention in 1848, and it also included a long list of goals. Soon enough, leaders focused on one goal: suffrage. It was a reckoning, a watershed moment, and it changed the country forever. If Me Too is going to change America, it needs to focus on its original and most serious goal: ending the kind of workplace sexual harassment that has plagued women ever since they entered the workforce.
Hi, I'm Andrew, and you brought up how like the male ads show that like we are scum, essentially. You said that.
Yeah.
And there was that Gillette ad about a year or two ago where it talked about the whole thing was about toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
More specifically, there was that one clip where there was those two men on the street, and then one of the guys was like a girl walked past, and the guy was gonna go after, not like go after her, but like he was gonna follow her and like whatever, ask her out or whatever. And then that one guy stopped him and said, "Whoa, man, you don't want to do that." So, what do you think like that effect has, or what effect do you think that has on like boys, like trying to ask girls out is like toxic? Like what effect do you think that will have on like boys? Like, do you think it will make boys more like awkward in trying to like communicate with women? Or?
Yeah, I think, and this is something that we can thank the Me Too movement for as well, in part, that, you know, yes, we should obviously be respectful of women. That commercial is interesting because I know that one scene you're talking about where the attractive woman walks by, the other guy is going to just, it looks like he's just going to go up and try to talk to her, and then the dude is like, "Hey, dude, no, wrong." Yeah. It's like, what? Why is that wrong? It's wrong to go talk to a woman. I can't even do that. So it's a subtle thing in that commercial, but that does seem to be the message that you hear from feminists, that oftentimes, you know, if you're propositioning a woman, even in the sense of just asking for a date, and she's not interested, then that could be harassment. You could be harassing her. And I think it does make it very difficult for, you know, normal interactions between the sexes to take place.
And so the owner of Huffington Post posted, 3 times as many male managers are now uncomfortable mentoring women in the wake of the Me Too movement. This is a huge step in the wrong direction. We need more men to #mentor her. The more important thing in this to me is mentor her. Really? Again, we are hijacking social issues to make them about women. Now, it really comes as no surprise that the PC brigade hasn't really caught up to the idea yet that women in the workplace are a liability. Now, it's probably not very fair, people probably get very upset about it, but the reality is, it's actually the truth of the matter. Further, I am completely unsurprised that men are uncomfortable to be around women in the workplace. That's not surprising in any capacity. Why? Well, the first thing is that these movements, the Me Too movement, this push for a gynocentric workplace has really just created a framework that's basically impossible for people to work within. I mean, the main thing that I can see is that it's allowed victimhood and anxiety and stress to overtake normal social interaction, in addition to oversensitivity, but that's nothing new with the feminists. Yes, men and women work side by side, which is basically inevitable in a society where there are 2 genders, specifically 2, not more than that, just 2. The bigger issue is that these non-sexual harassment frameworks stretch so far and cover so many areas and are so ambiguous that it's hard to know when someone's going to get offended, someone's going to feel a particular way, and they're going to do something about it. whether or not they're actually in the right to do that. So I jumped on the Human Rights Commission website and went to the area that details what sexual harassment is in Australia. And there's a handful of them that I can reconcile, I can understand why it's on the list. But then there's a handful of them that I really don't understand.
For attractive women, is this, like, how big of a concern is sexual harassment? Like, none of you guys are working with Harvey Weinstein out here, but is it actually common for attractive women to actually be harassed in the workplace?
I would say yes.
Really?
Yeah. But with a caveat that it depends on the woman's comfort level, because harassment is subjective. So, for example, if you're sending me explicit messages, like, yes, that's a clear delineation of sexual harassment. But my brother actually had an instance where he was pulled into an HR situation, and he had just put his hand on the back of his assistant and said, can you tell them that I need 5 more minutes, like, to go tell the new clients, like, just give me a second. And that
innocent,
was innocent,
like, just
right?
like, hey,
yeah. So that was an incident. So I think it really just depends on what you deem sexual harassment, and I feel for guys sometimes, because how do you know where that line is? I don't know, that's subjective.
And when folks say things like, believe all women, I have a question, why? Really, why? Because I am inclined to believe stories of sexual abuse, I really am. But when folks say believe all women, you can't believe all women any more than you can believe all men or believe any other group of people. And to suggest that women are inherently more believable than men is sexist. To say that men don't deserve the same due process as women is sexist. And I believe that men shouldn't act like pigs. I've been only advocating this since I was a teenager. I'm the only man in America who was a virgin until I was married and proud of it. I've been advocating for a higher standard of traditional behavior on the part of men, literally my entire public career. But that doesn't mean that you get to carve out a section of crimes that don't require evidence.
We've been seeing a lot of these Me Too cases, they don't go criminal, they go civil. Why? Because when you go civil, their burden of proof is way less, and you can make a bunch of money. So why are you gonna go the criminal route where you're gonna have to, be called to testify, you're gonna have to bring witnesses in, it's way more stressful, the burden of proof is higher, right? And you don't get paid. You don't get paid. So, a lot of these Me Too people, what are they doing? They're going ahead and they're going the civil route because the burden of proof is lower, the payout is higher, and a lot of the times the people that they're going after have a lot of money and they're just like, you know what, man, I'm just gonna settle. We saw this with Diddy. He wanted to fight it at first, and then the lawsuit came, got hit in the news. What'd he do? Oh, never mind. I'm just gonna pay her the money, right?
And nowadays, man, with the way I've seen so many women weaponize Me Too against celebrities, look at Johnny Depp, guys. Yeah. Look at the Johnny Depp case. What did she say? He raped her, he used to beat her ass, he was evil, he broke a bottle over her head, all this bullshit. Then Johnny Depp intelligently records the conversation in secret, and we find out that she was whooping his ass.
Yeah.
Like, what?
And that was convincing in the beginning before she started losing.
A study conducted in early 2019 across various industries revealed a growing trend of men being cautious in hiring women for close interpersonal interactions. Initially, 15% of men were reluctant to hire women for roles involving close interactions, but by 2019, this figure had risen to 21%. This shift reflects the ironic consequence of the Me Too movement, which aimed to create safer and more equitable workplaces. However, it has led to an environment where men are increasingly cautious in their professional dealings with women. The study highlights the need for balanced approaches to ensure safety and fairness in the workplace. The Me Too movement has evolved into a modern witch hunt, leading to disappointing outcomes. Men who try to avoid harassing women often find themselves criticized. Even well-intentioned men now avoid interactions, leaving workplaces tense and divided. A notable example is a woman who quit her job claiming harassment after a male colleague sent her an email asking her out on a date.
Me Too movement on academia, and it actually shows that post-Me Too, women's productivity fell largely due to fewer collaborations with male researchers. The paper shows that this drop is most pronounced at universities where the perceived risk of sexual harassment accusations is highest. So the actual findings comparing research before and after the movement are right here, and as you can see, after the Me Too movement, collaborations with male researchers inside the same institution fell to close to zero. The author points out that men feel like if they accidentally say the wrong thing, they could be canceled or fired. She also notes that institutions that have clear policies on sexual harassment help reduce this perceived risk. And this isn't just in academia. The paper also cites a 2018 study which showed that 60% of male managers are uncomfortable participating in common activities with women due to the same concerns. And a curious finding of the study was that men make up for the loss in this collaboration by just collaborating more with other men, whereas women don't make up for it at all. The author concludes her findings by saying that Me Too was important for raising awareness, but it's also increasingly important for institutions to have a really clear...
Tonight, one retired CEO is speaking out about why he thinks this might end up having the wrong effect on women in the workforce.
Steve, Tricia, well, this new wave of women standing up against sexual misconduct has led to all sorts of changes. But tonight, one CEO believes it may be preventing women from getting the jobs they want.
From the entertainment industry to the gaming world, women everywhere are standing up against sexual misconduct in the workplace.
It's a new day. It is the era of the woman now.
The latest case has brought this movement right to the Las Vegas Strip. Casino mogul Steve Wynn stepping down as CEO yesterday after allegations he sexually assaulted employees. But is time really up?
I have a big concern, and it's what's going to happen in hiring going forward.
Mark Yoseloff is the director of UNLV's School of Gaming and Innovation and hired hundreds of men and women as former CEO of Shufflemaster. He says this movement will make it tougher for women to get hired, especially when they're up against a qualified man.
They might elect to hire the man because they are concerned that down the road, whether they do anything wrong or not, there might be a she said, he said.
Yoseloff says current CEOs he knows have already opted not to sit in meetings alone with women in fear they would do something to spark a complaint.
It's a craziness that no executive wants to have to face.
Many people, including myself, only became aware of the Me Too movement in 2017 when Rose McGowan, a white wealthy woman who was a famous actress, brought it up. But it was actually started all the way back in 2006 by Tarana Burke, an African-American social activist. Women of color have been speaking up about sexual abuse in low-income workspaces for ages, but they never garnered the same attention as a rich white actress.
Well, isn't this awesome? Due to the hard work and efforts of feminism in the Me Too movement has made men not only be extra careful working with women in the workplace, but it is making men not even want to work with women.
There's been some backlash about Me Too and some anxiety, as you might imagine.
Many male managers and owners are feeling a little bit more tentative when working with and managing their female workers.
Listen to this. A side result, an unintended consequence of the Me Too movement has popped up. Male executives and managers, some are now saying they are afraid to work with and mentor female colleagues in the workplace. So we're trying to find out, is it too hard to see the difference between mentoring and harassment?
Listen, I can't give any more information. But I fear I may have girl bossed a bit too close to the sun.
A large percentage of male managers were concerned about working with women one-on-one in the workplace. They were concerned about mentoring women. They were saying they were afraid to have meetings with women, to travel with women, and so on. It indicates that
this concludes our A4 anonymous coverage for the day. Click that like button, please. Make sure you hit that notification bell in addition to subscribing. Leave a comment telling us what you think. Have a great day tomorrow.